fight. Were pretty looking people, but I can tell you people, they were the devil's children.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Aurora's been particularly affectionate this afternoon, and so is Mickey. And I think for good reason and with good cause. However, so that I am not detained further by both the Mamacitas, I am going to plunge right in with B. Blom, who says, I read that Phillip Schofield has been made to resign. Your giggles, please. Oh my dear, a day of jubilation. You know, they say you shouldn't celebrate the misfortune of others. Well, I'm celebrating the misfortune of Phillip Schofield. He is a horrid human being. He represents everything that is untoward. He is a hypocrite. He is a phony. And he has been humiliated roundly, having spent years humiliating people unjustly. And I have to tell you, I celebrate his demise. It's unworthy of me, I know. I'm not being noble, I'm being human, and I make no pretense about it. I am delighted to see the jerk fall. Of course, there is also Caroline McCall in the background, the CEO of ITV, who, according to Phillip Schofield, is going to be placing him on other programs. Let's wait and see. I'm not so sure that's going to happen, but who knows? Maybe water will yet again seek its own level, and the scum and the muck will trail in the gutter together. In the meantime, however, I am going to read out, because it really is a giggle, what Phillip Schofield had to say. Throughout my career in TV, including the very difficult last few days, I have always done my best to be honourable and kind. I mean, he never knew the word integrity when I brought up the subject, and he clearly doesn't know the meaning of the word honourable or the meaning of the word kind. Anyway, I will continue. I understand that ITV has decided the current situation can't go on, and I want to do what I can to protect the show I love. So now it's an elective. He wasn't pushed. He wanted to jump. Oh my gosh, yet another phony attempt at preserving his dignity, the very thing he couldn't preserve with anybody else, but is so assiduous in trying to preserve for himself. Anyway, I will continue. So I have agreed to step down from this morning with immediate effect, in the hope that the show can move forward to a bright future. I'd like to thank everyone who has supported me, especially this morning's amazing viewers. Well, the show is greater than the sum of the parts. Sorry, some of the girls' fur. So it doesn't really matter whether Phil, the queen of the closet, and Holly the dolly are presenting it, or anybody else. The show's format, the show's time, the show's input by its writers and producers is what has made the show the popular thing that it is. Philip and Holly, incidental. But because people found their hypocrisy, mendacity, falsity, inauthenticity offensive. It was losing viewers in the hundreds of thousands. So he didn't agree to step down. He was made to step down. And since making that statement, he's been complaining that he's been thrown to the wolves. And he's somehow been treated unfairly and unjustly. Now, that's a bit rich coming from a pretentious piffler and pseudo sadist like Phillip Schofield. I am delighted that he has been shoved out, and I hope he never gets another programme. Never. I think he is scum of the earth. Aside from anything else, he was condemning behaviour that before he seemed to have no problem with condoning. Very peculiar, that. As for his brother and his brother's long prison sentence, that has nothing to do with him. So I'm not condemning him for his brother's conduct. I'm condemning him for his own conduct. He is a nasty piece of work who's finally got his comeuppance. And several people have been making the comment that I was one of the first people to shine a light upon what a total phony, fraud, pretentious piffler and nasty piece of work Phillip Schofield was. Well, I wasn't the first. Ruth Langsford and Eamon Holmes and Fern Britton and Amanda Holden all had shone a light on him before me. But, of course, when they're reporting on the many people whom he fell out with, I am one of them who is mentioned. Well, that's fine. I'm happy to be mentioned. I'm proud of the fact that I put that pretentious piffler in his place. Why scum like that was ever given a platform in the first place, I would like to know. But then again, I suppose if you have a company run by the likes of Caroline McCall, anything is possible. Sandray says, born and raised in California, San Francisco Bay Area in 1974. I've never heard of that magazine. She's referring to Ms. And up until Meghan Markle, I'd never even heard of Gloria Steinem. Well, if you were born in 1974, I'm not surprised. But those of us who were born a little bit before, we've heard of Gloria Steinem. But my parents didn't have first world problems. We were working class immigrant family, so maybe we just didn't have time for the wokeness back then, for Gloria or her magazine to be of any influence. No, of course you wouldn't have, my dear. You and your family were too busy surviving to be caught up in first world problems. That's really, Gloria Steinem was really not quite at the forefront that she would like the world to believe. But anyway, Gloria is purchasing PR through the Harkles. I bet most of today's youth have no idea who she is either. She knows Meghan Markle is a walking billboard, and that's why she's giving her awards. And my dear Sandra, you have hit the nail on the head. Gloria Steinem has been using Meghan Markle to promote herself, and Meghan Markle has been using Gloria Steinem to promote herself. Mutual opportunism, and I have to say, there's an awful lot of it in the media. And Gloria Steinem is not yesterday's woman, last century's woman, last millennium's woman. Yes, she did play a role, and a reservedly eminent role, up to a point where some people were concerned, in the feminist movement. And feminism was a valid movement 50 and 40, even 30 years ago. It's no longer a valid movement. Sorry. The world has moved on. Every working woman is a feminist. I'm a feminist without intending to be. I've never said I was a feminist. I've never set myself up as a feminist. But if you look at the life I've led and the results of the life I have led, you would have to say I have been the embodiment of feministic ideals, totally unintentionally. And feminism also is a 20th century phenomenon which in its own way was desirable. The true start of feminism was the 1857 Women's Property Act, Married Women's Property Act, actually. Until then, any woman who was married, her worldly assets became her husband's. So it actually, if you were a rich woman, it didn't suit you to get married, and many didn't as a result of that. But after the 1857 Property Act, when women had control of their own fortunes, financially, that is, that was the beginning of feminism, and the 2 world wars and people going out to work actually assisted. Gloria Steinem's cause, done and dusted, and I'm not denigrating her achievements because she did make some, but also her heritage has been mixed by the belief that she was actually a CIA operative. Now, to be a CIA operative in a feminist movement, not a good look. Not even after you've posed as a Playboy bunny and written articles on it. But yes, she has used Meghan Markle and Meghan Markle's notoriety, and may I point out at this point that I'm using the word in its correct meaning, which is infamy, not fame. Notoriety is not fame. The word is not interchangeable with fame. It is interchangeable with infamy. And she has used Meghan Markle's infamy to get herself column inches, and by giving, in quotes, the award that she has given, in quotes. I'd like to know how much that gift cost and how it ended up costing and how the payment was channeled. But that's for another time. It's mutual back scratching. And now we shall go on to what free speech, what 1st of June says. There is talk now that the simple task of leaving that venue has been turned into a massive money-making event by the fake Chase story. They don't care. No embarrassment. as they've earned lots from Hertz and any other company with merchandise that was featured in the footage. For example, the phone or the sunglasses. So why worry about a story that's discredited? That will be forgotten, but the merch money made is for keeps. That is a very interesting perspective. I know as a fact that Harry and Meghan cut deals that are very, in my opinion, dubious, and certainly I would never condescend to cutting the deals that they cut commercially. Whether they have cut deals to that extent is open to question. But your point is a valid one. Harry and Meghan basically don't care whether the attention is positive or negative as long as they get attention. But they are going to need to care. She's going to need to care. Because they are pretty much busted flushes. You will see in the foreseeable future there is going to be a total decline in their prestigious desirability. Let's put it that way. They are already dodgy numbers. Credible people and companies no longer wish to be associated with them. They have gone from first-tier associations, for instance, my present house guest's good friend Bobby Eager, with whom she went to school, of Disney. That was a pretty prestigious start. Well, then there was JP Morgan with Harry. Since when it's gone downhill. And it's going to keep on going downhill even more. And I'll tell you, a little birdie whispered to me, this is not a question, but I'm sharing it because a little birdie whispered to me that in fact, Harry was absolutely furious when he realized that he had been led into the hornet's nest by Meghan, and the suggestion that they go out through their back door. I don't know if you noticed, as he walked out and realized the trap that had been set for him, his demeanour changed and his countenance clouded over in the most dreadful way, while she looked, Mr. DeMille, I'm not being smug. I'm just chilled and relaxed and waiting for my close-up. And Doria? So upset she was fast asleep, or giving a facsimile of sleeping. And Meghan was just beaming with delight. Oh, finally, the cameras are going to be able to catch me. Oh, they couldn't catch me when I was behind that blacked out glass, and I couldn't do what I did in England where I lowered the window. Oh, so we had to do the next best thing. Smile on the way into the car, and then in the taxi, slap on that Cheshire cat grin. Oh, Mr. DeMille. Oh, nothing beats a close-up. Nothing. Especially from my favorite paparazzi. Oh, Mr. DeMille. Oh. Oh, Mr. DeMille. H doesn't begin to know what bliss is. But in front of your camera, when Harry met Sally, it's a piece of cake. Marlene Chiquan says, "Hi, Lady C. Do you think M and H demanded photos and footage because they couldn't remember exactly what had happened the next day? Just a thought." Very good thought. Very good thought. Harry and Meghan both have fallacious perceptions and recollections, to put it politely. And there is every possibility that they demanded the footage to use either legally or productively, as in Netflix production or Archewell production, but some cinematic production. Production. And I would imagine that it took no great deal of insight on their part to realize that their version of events did not accord with any other version of events. And that includes the version of events that Harry was taping. I mean, who tapes paparazzi? What's he taping them for? Well, of course, were they going to make a complaint to the police? The police have made it clear that the incident, such as it was, which was with nobody's life in danger and no high-speed car chase, was a maximum of 20 minutes and not 2 hours. And nobody went at 80 miles an hour. Are they trying to reconcile the fact that Eric Adams, who's clearly a racist, because he called them out? I mean, Eric Adams has a gall calling me out as a liar. I mean, it was 2 hours. Well, I suppose when you're on certain substances, 20 minutes seems like 2 hours. But could they remember? Do they actually connect to reality to the extent to ever have accurate recall? Remember what the late Queen said? Recollections may vary. Their recollections are always at variance with the facts. So, maybe they wanted the pictures and to be able to cobble together some sort of a rational story. But they didn't ask for them. They demanded them, as befits the king and queen of the world, the emperor and empress of globality. We're global. I mean, William and Catherine, your jerky brother and sister-in-law, they can take England and the Commonwealth. I've got the world, says Megsy Baby. Megsy Baby, you don't have the world. You have the universe. You have the globe. You are global. That degree of delusionalism is true insanity. Love is coffee. It says, "Hello, Lady C. I've been reading the past few days about the Princess of Wales being mocked and bullied in the upcoming Disney movie, The Little Mermaid. This is part of the article that I read. In the first meeting between Ariel and Prince Eric, he tries to guess her name. His first guess is Diana. His second is Catherine, the Princess of Wales's first name. At the mention of the latter, Ariel screws up her face. Okay, definitely not Catherine. Eric says, the film already has a royal connection. The Duchess of Sussex drew parallels between herself and Ariel in her explosive 2021 interview with Winfrey. What do you think? Can the royal family take any legal steps to stop this or change it? Thank you for all these wonderful videos. Wish you all a lovely day. Thank you. I wish you a lovely day, and I'm gratified that you enjoy my videos. It means a lot to me that you do. The royal family can take no legal steps, nor would it be anything but infidel to rise above such nonsense. Totally ignore it. It goes away. Having said that, Disney is a very commercially acute company. It understands the value of publicity. It understands the value of controversy. It understands that if it piggybacks on the controversies caused by Meghan and Harry in regard to the rest of the royal family, it will get people talking, and that means it's good advertisement for what they are producing. It's free publicity. It's brilliant marketing. Do you think it's ethical? Actually, it is. Is it cynical? Of course it is. But, you know, whoever thought that Hollywood was anything but cynical is totally deceived as to what Hollywood, and by Hollywood I mean the entertainment industry, not Hollywood itself, is all about. In a funny sort of way, it also does the royal family no harm. The slight slur benefits them despite the slurry element, because it shows that they are relevant, that they are thought of even by Disney in a rubbish scenario involving Ariel, etc., and Eric and the Little Mermaid. So it's actually, in a funny sort of way, boosting and ratifying the importance of the royal family itself. So if you look at it like that, it's a bagatelle. It's of no significance in terms of anything destructive. It even is, in a perverse way, constructive. Karen Robertson says, I'm halfway through your book on Diana. Meghan is using it for her playbook, in my honest opinion. Karen Robertson, you're not the first person who said that. You doubtless won't be the last. Meghan has used my Real Diana book, and in fact, most likely both my Diana in Private, The Princess Nobody Knows, as well as my posthumous biography, The Real Diana. I was told she was using them as templates, and her enactments, her conduct, her uncanny recreation of the contents of those two books leads one to believe that, yes, as Freud says, there's no such thing as a coincidence. And books of several hundred pages replicated not only on a daily, but weekly or monthly, but annual basis is a little bit too coincidental to be a coincidence. pathetic if it's happening, if she really is doing it. Beyond pathetic, in my opinion, sick. Sick. And it's even sicker if it's not done deliberately. Then that's true insanity time. The other one is crazy sociopathic time. But without the deliberate replication, that's true insanity. I leave you to conclude which one you think it is. I neither know nor care. I know what I suspect, but I do not deal in suspicions. I deal in facts. And until I can actually conclude that something is a fact, I simply regard it as information. And I have received information from people who know Meghan very well that she has been using my books as templates for her conduct. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. Susie Ann says, Meghan is determined to reenact many events of Diana's life to prove she's Diana reincarnate. That's right. That's right. Meghan is playing a very, in my opinion, going off her conduct, sick game. She is a total attention-seeking junkie in terms of attention-seeking. And she is a drama queen. And she has, in her opinion, according to people who know her well, the greatest co-star she could ever come up with, a royal prince. But he is a bit player in her production. He is also the audience in her production. And she is playing to him. And she is getting her jollies off on the fact that she has a captive audience of a prince. And she is enacting all of this and pressing his buttons. And it's a massive ego and power trip, according to people who know her well and have known her for a long time. It's also a wonderful way of having met him, hooked him, and utilized his vulnerabilities to her worldly, personal, financial, and reputational advantage. Except she's misplayed her hand, because instead of being revered, she has become reviled. William Clark says, I wonder... Oh, but let me just actually finish off the point, because I can actually dot it, the I's and cross the T's even more clearly. She knows he has a mummy problem, and she knows that she knew that the way to reach him was to evoke mummy. She's totally caught up, evidently, in the act. But with her, everything is an act. That's a pretty chilling way to lead a life. No wonder she has gone from revered to reviled. because you can only remain revered if you remain true. And if you are enacting a corpse, if in reality, and resurrecting that corpse and replicating much of its failings, its errors, its neuroses, and trying to gain the approbation that it had through its positive aspects which you lack. It's Duality Time. William Clark says, I wonder that if the so-called high-speed car chase was as awful as this gruesome twosome made it out to be, why did Meghan's mother seem to be asleep in the taxi? Good point. But then again, I suppose she's smoked so much pot in her life that she's chilled to the bones. This is really bad acting from them. Inappropriate acting too. Do they think that we, the public, are as dumb as they are? My dear, they think we're dumber. Putting it square and square, no one sleeps through a catastrophe. Absolutely right. Period. Absolutely right. No one sleeps through a catastrophe. Loving your videos as always. Well done, Lady C. Well done, William Clark. You have hit the nail very firmly on the head. Doria looks so chilled that she could have been prepped for major surgery. Meghan looks so ecstatic that you can see she was prepped for the camera. And Harry just looks crazy. Lady Paddington says, Jessie Markle and Prince Smollett should remember what she stated in the infamous Oprah interview regarding Catherine. She, and now Lady Paddington quotes, owned her mistake. She did what I would have done. She apologized. And Lady Paddington continues with her observation. Put actions behind your own words and apologize to the New York taxpayers, the NYPD, the mayor, and William for the exploitation of his beloved mother's tragic death as a horrific and vile PR stunt. Lady Paddington, I've quoted you because you have said it as well as it can possibly be said. It is a vile and horrific PR stunt. It is the cynical and cold-blooded and cold-hearted exploitation of his mother's memory. He says he loves his mother, but he's happy to exploit her tragically at every single turn. And as for Meghan, yes, she confirmed that Catherine is big enough when she makes a mistake to own it. And Meghan then asserted that Catherine did what she would have done, because Meghan, of course, is so perfect that she owns every mistake, except she's never confessed to or hinted at ever having made a mistake ever in the whole of her life, because she's so overweeningly arrogant and so, quite frankly, dumb that she doesn't understand that humility is actually a virtue. But she's a clever operator, and she's a wily operator, and she's clever enough to understand if she ever makes the slightest hint of having done anything wrong or having made a mistake. And she has Harry bleating always about his failings and not his mistakes, everybody else's mistakes, but his injuries down the line. My goodness, isn't that juicy evidence? Oh, Your Honour, I can't tell you how awful it was. There I was giving this man all the love that I have in my wonderful heart. One act of compassion at a time. And not to mention everything else that I gave him. Because you know, Your Honour, I've just been such a great feminist that I've used every single wow that I had. I believe in service, Your Honour. Personal service, personal services, and privately servicing those I need to derive benefits from. Yes. I'm just so wonderful. Never made a mistake. But should I ever make one, I'm going to be big enough to admit it. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you, and I hope you have found it somewhat entertaining, because I think really this whole thing has degenerated into farce. But I find it rather reassuring that it has become so overtly farcical that we can begin to see the back of that rather rackety vehicle. And on that note, I will say thank you so much. God bless. And if you have enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and God speed.